The year was 1997. Video game titan Sega hired a smaller studio by the name of Traveler's Tales to develop a Sonic racing game. They happened to have been working on a driving game already, so eagerly took the opportunity, transforming their traditional racing game into a full-fledged Sonic experience. The game released to mixed reviews, often being hated by many in the Sonic community, citing its awkward controls, strange pacing, and odd out-of-touch soundtrack. Ultimately, the game would have been forgotten to time, if not for one character. For whatever reason, the most difficult to unlock character was this incredibly unnerving, possessed doll, resembling the character Tails the Fox. Instead of running like every other character, it just floats, swaying back and forth. This odd character definitely freaked out a lot of the younger fans back when it first released, but it was really around 10 years later that the character grew some notoriety. On May 26, 2006, a video simply titled Tails Doll was uploaded, being one of the first times this character was shown in a CreepyPasta light. The video explains, "Did you know that if you lock yourself in the bathroom, turn off the lights, and sing the lyrics to Living in the City backwards, a glowing red jewel appears in the mirror. Try it if you dare." The video then shows a couple scary images of the Tails doll, ending with this horrific picture. The only other video on this channel is from December of the same year, and is a slideshow of creepy Tails doll imagery, which shows us that there was at least some semblance of a community notion that he was an evil entity. This specific photo being posted in 2005, which could potentially be the origin point to this characterization. YouTuber The Men Talk was able to track the origin of the urban legend all the way back to a super obscure fan thread, and it's truly fascinating. His findings link all the way back to 2005, predating CreepyPasta entirely. That video is in the description below. I'd recommend checking it out. On January 1st, 2008, a thread was posted to the GameFAQs forum detailing a guide to the Tails doll curse, explaining that the curse was only on the original version of the game, as the GameCube port had a seal left by Shigeru Miyamoto to block the curse. However, this seal is breakable if you tag Supersonic as Tails doll. I love the internet so much. The thread goes on to explain the same summoning method detailed in YouTube videos. When summoned, the curse starts with a day of bad luck, starting off with small things like waking up too late. But eventually, the bad luck becomes catastrophic. This is a method the Tails doll uses to ensure that you believe in him. After about a week of horrific luck, you'll start getting messages from the doll in the form of sticky notes around your house. Eventually, the Tails doll will confront you directly and give you two options: be his eternal slave, or he will devour your soul. But don't worry. If you believe you're cursed by the doll, you're not completely out of luck, as if you surround yourself with tokens in Metal Sonic's image, you should be okay, as the Tails doll has an aversion to Metal Sonic. That in the game's Shadow the Hedgehog should serve as a form of protection. It's incredibly silly and goofy, but this is what people thought was scary on the old internet. This GameFAQs page was a great accumulation of all the folklore so far, and much of the information on this thread eventually became part of the overarching creepypasta lore of the character. At some point in the late 2000s, the Tails doll curse was released. This creepypasta officially brought the Tails doll legend into the limelight, leading to the character to become an iconic part of the classic creepypasta history. But what was the actual story? Well, before we dive into the phenomenal remake, it's time to look back at the original story of the Tails doll. The most popular creepypasta iteration of the tale is known as the Tails doll curse, and goes a little something like this.
A man came home from work with a gift for his son. He had picked up a new video game for him, Sonic R. It was a racing game, and when he gave his son this gift, he was so excited to get it and play it right away. That night, he played the game with his son, and they had a great time. A couple of days later, the boy was almost finished with the game. His dad was in there in his room when he beat the last boss, and he roared in excitement when he finally did it. He smiled and asked him how he liked the game as he watched the credits screen. "What's that?" he asked the boy again when the Tails doll appeared on screen. The boy said it was the Tails doll. That was all he knew. After putting his son to bed, the man got curious about the game and started playing. He noticed that he now had the option to play as Tails doll. He chose him to tag up with some of the gang. The game was fun until he tagged him up with Sonic. The screen went black when the game system shut itself down. The man decided it was time for him to go to sleep since he had to work in the morning, so he crept out of his son's room and went to lay in bed with his wife. At around 2 a.m., he woke up when he heard thumps on his door. He assumed it was his son getting up to ask him to get him something. He told the boy to stop, go back to bed. The thumping kept happening, and at one point he noticed a little shadow coming from under the door. Tails kept popping into his head. He got out of bed and slowly opened the door. Then he heard someone say this very softly. "You are coming with me, forever." It was a doll. An evil, blood-covered, possessed little doll. It was the doll from the game. It had to be.
This is only one of many creepypastas created around the character, but it's generally one of the more well-known ones. As the story spread, more and more people started discussing the tale. Art was created, the lore was expanded on, and he quickly became one of the essential classic creepypasta characters. Now that you're familiar with the Tails doll and his lore, I think it's time that we take a look at Vibing Leaf's Tails doll retake. Tails doll retake is the 5th of Vibing Leaf's phenomenal creepypasta retake series, but takes a completely different format to the rest of them. Tails doll retake portrays itself as a creepy old YouTube video by Horror Homero Bros. We follow a character named Chris, or the Hobbyist, as he explains the legendary story of the Tails doll. The way this footage is shot and edited is perfect, bringing me back to classic videos from YouTubers like Mullet Mike, the Tetrahedron VG, or the Gamer from Mars, giving me that gut feeling that I had watching these guys back in my childhood. His set is perfectly curated, featuring collectibles that from what I can tell are fully era appropriate. He explains to his audience the classic tale of the cursed Tails doll, and goes on to explain that he's tried to summon this creature, to no avail. He goes on to explain that after posting on a forum looking for help regarding the mystery, a user recommended that he take a look at the PlayStation 2 port of Sonic R, on the Sonic Collection. Allegedly, while the game was being ported, there was a developer build of the game that focused on adding special events for the Tails doll, alongside amplifying the character's intelligence. For whatever reason, no one knew the legitimacy of this dev build, not even the person who brought it up. So Chris kept digging, and digging, and digging, to no avail, until the person on the board reached out, claiming he'd found the build. Eventually, he mailed a copy to Chris to examine it. It's here that things start to get strange and unusual. At first, it's pretty normal, displaying the game's title and splash screens. Instead of being a compilation like the retail version of the game, this version goes straight into Sonic R, the game carrying some odd inconsistencies from its normal build. As the game starts, the video starts to glitch out, with Chris repeating, "So I decided to collect all the coins I need to battle the Tails doll."
It also skips the same stage that we need to play in order to unlock Tails doll, Radio City. So I decided to collect all the coins I needed to battle Tails doll. So I decided to collect all the coins I needed to battle Tails doll.
Go!
So I decided to collect all the coins I needed to battle.
The game is notably strange, completely lacking any music, leading to an off-putting atmosphere. Eventually, after collecting 90 coins, the game cuts to the Tails doll race, still eerily silent. Right before collecting this item panel, the game freezes and restarts the race. Only this time, Sonic clips through the track, eventually ending up at the bottom of the map. The game completely freaks out, becoming an unplayable mess. Eventually, it goes back to the loading screen, which is all distorted and looks like it's melting. When loading back in, the game's flipped upside down, with the watery skybox enveloping most of the screen. Eventually, an intimidating sound is heard, and from the center of the screen, the Tails doll appears. As he makes contact, everything cuts to black, and then we see Sonic laying down in the very same checkerboard room that the Tails doll is often seen in, which by the way is an official render, despite being thought to be made by fans for years. It actually comes from an ancient Sega website, showcasing the game's characters. Anyways, as Sonic lays on the checkerboard floor, the camera zooms out, while a familiar sound effect plays on repeat. After this, we see the character select screen, only every character is X'd out with the exception of the Tails doll. The sound effect plays again, as his form becomes distorted and chaotic. Eventually it loads into the level Resort Island, only now the skybox is a dark abyss. This time, Chris is in control of the Tails doll, breaking the game's linearity. The visuals are heavily distorted. The soundtrack is replaced by an eerie drone, and eventually, after collecting 41 coins, the game freezes. When it returns, the player is chasing Sonic, and all the player icons on the side have been replaced with the Tails doll. Shortly, the game completely breaks, and eventually, the lose text appears. As the Tails doll slowly fades into the foreground, we see him in that iconic checkered room, and are then reunited with Chris.
Hey, sorry for my sudden disappearance.
Only this time his demeanor is a bit more confused. After explaining that his video got corrupted, and that the disc somehow peeled, he signs off, remarking that this may indeed be the real Tails doll curse. What seems like a normal YouTube outro is quickly turned into something much more dire, as we see Chris walking through his house, witnessing strange occurrences, like a picture frame being knocked over by what can only be described as a paranormal presence. A shot of a dark room in Chris's house slowly reveals an ominous figure in the shadows, making it very clear that he's not alone. When we see Chris again, he's notably more anxious, explaining to the audience that strange and off-putting things have been happening around his house. He's been noticing odd things in his peripheral vision. Random objects around the house are misplaced, and despite thinking he threw away the CD, it showed up on his desk. Despite his denial, Chris seems to start to consider the fact that he may in fact be haunted by the Tails doll curse. The footage then directly cuts to heavily distorted footage of Chris in his bed, with a similar eerie drone in the background. Next we see, Chris seems to be boarding up his door, as if to keep whatever possible threat there is away. As for what comes next, I'll let you listen to him directly.
There's nothing. I don't get it. I'm telling you, there's something following me. Or something's here. I just don't know. know what I heard, but sounded like it was that. Oh, it isn't real. I hate to admit it, but my doubts are slowly starting to creep in. I keep seeing that doll in the corner of my eye, or some figure that resembles it, because I'm being haunted by a Sonic character.
I adore the Sonic dialogue, as it's one of the most realistic things I've ever heard in any creepypasta media. Like, yeah, that is embarrassing. Why don't other protagonists ever mention that? Chris is seeing the doll. He's feeling its presence, yet he can't prove its existence. We see more footage of what seems to be Chris in his bed, which slowly fades and distorts into a point-of-view shot of that iconic checkerboard floor, as Can You Feel the Sunshine plays in the background. The doll slowly raises its head and makes eye contact with the camera, which then falls and cuts to black. We hear a distorted static approaching closer and closer, and then for a single frame, we see this eerie visage of the doll, reminding me of the iconic corpse face from the Mario creepypasta. The video then cuts to Chris, only this time his expression is notably gaunt and horrified. He pleads to an end to this torment, and in the final frames of this video, the doll appears. Tales Doll Retake is one of the most unique creepypasta interpretations of all time. I love it when creepypasta media directly shows what's being discussed, because this used to be a rarity. Sure, we had some really fantastic examples like Ben Drowned and some other interpretations like Sonic.exe. The game was good. It's the story that was rough, but generally in the past, the visual adaptations of creepypastas really fell short. Oftentimes it was just poorly edited clips of the original media with shitty archiving effects and loud noises. Some of them, like Candle Cove, still had this otherworldly and mysterious aura to them, but regardless, it didn't accurately portray what was being shown in these stories. Vibing Leaf has completely elevated the playing field, creating phenomenal remakes of these creepypastas, some of which never even had convincing visuals in the first place, and he's bringing them to a whole new level. It's genuinely incredible. His interpretation of Happy Appy being a personal favorite, as that's a story that I always wanted to see brought to life. Something I adore about Tales Doll Retake is that it's not directly clear whether or not the events that are being shown are that of an intentionally creepy YouTube video or actual events happening to Chris. It brings me back to when the Gamer from Mars would end every video with a weird, creepy cliffhanger, alluding to a larger narrative. It could be an art piece, and it could be a horrifying reality. I'm willing to bet it's the latter, but regardless, it's clear that Vibing Leaf is one of, if not the most innovative individual in the online horror niche. I highly recommend that you all check out his channel and watch Tales Doll Retake in its entirety, as you really cannot get the same experience otherwise. However, I still had some questions. Most of the prior creepypasta retake videos had some semblance of a wider narrative that connected this new age creepypasta world. At first we were shown visages of the characters who was soon to be corrupted, like Mickey and Gumball, alongside a rumored dead Bart retake, which is still yet to start production. There is a slight ongoing narrative with the character Nick being the protagonist in a variety of videos displaying weird corrupted video games, like a plethora of Sonic entries and dead plants. With this information, you may be wondering, where does Tales Doll fit into all of this? Well, lucky for you, I asked Vibing Leaf. Here's what he said. So first off, I asked what exactly Mr. Homero Bro's name is, and that's where Chris comes from. I also learned that despite not having any direct narrative connection to the other retakes, this video does take place in the same universe as the rest of Vibing Leaf's work. It seems like the universe that these stories take place in is a deeply unsafe and evil one. Or perhaps it's just the world in which every creepypasta we grew up with was true, which is an awesome concept. I was also curious as to how exactly this video was being made, as it didn't look like CGI animation, and it also seemed like corrupted gameplay. Turns out, Leaf used a tool by the name of Real-Time Corruptor, which is an incredibly cool software that lets you completely destroy classic video games. It's genuinely awesome. This, with an expert blend of Vibing Leaf's classic editing, led to the incredible product that we ended up with. It might seem like cheating, but while watching Tales Doll Retake, I wondered if there were any secrets or hidden lore elements, but I couldn't find any. So I asked Leaf, and he responded with this. To be honest, I don't think there's any secrets yet. That was more intended for a sequel to the video. There is a possible sequel. And the first video was more so focused on making a clear introduction to the hobbyist and the doll. So if you're interested in more Tales Doll / hobbyist content, you're in luck. Huge thanks to Vibing Leaf for answering my questions. I think it's pretty clear how I stand on Vibing Leaf, but again, check out the content. It's phenomenal. By the way, if you're interested in owning your very own little Orion plush, they're on sale for only $30. They're super high quality and huggable and adorable, and might just make you a happier person. And yeah, that's it. This video was suggested to me by a couple commenters, so I figured I'd make a less serious video, kinda like what I made back in 2023. If you like this shorter, more simple type of content, let me know. It was a blast to go back to my roots and talk about early internet creepypasta. I like to think of this video as my little Halloween special. A bigger one was planned, but that has been postponed to sometime in November. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to check out my music, my band Polybius is linked in the description. It's a cringecore band based on early 2010s internet culture, and if you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy our music. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you like it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.